Hey nerds. So, can talk about my boy Slavoj Zizek again, my favorite Hegelian slash Lacanian slash Marxist philosopher, because he's the only one that I know of. And yeah, he's giving his usual. He's giving an interesting opinion, basically presented in a bombastic way, as usual, and basically explaining that patriotism is often an excuse for evil and terrible atrocities, like the Nazi atrocities, for example, because he's talking specifically about Heinrich Himmler, and then he gets into Nazi sex dreams, and he talks about how people don't necessarily even believe that they're actually evil. But yeah, so let's get into it here.
We all have basic common sense decency. Certain things you may, I don't. Dream about them. I'm not saying I don't have dirty dreams, just not that kind.
But that's not part of the life conversation.
Yeah,
or maybe it is.
No,
I don't
Yeah,
know.
it is.
I don't. Don't be afraid. No. What I just wanted to say is that
Dirty dreams are definitely part of life.
the problem of Himmler is how do you remain sane and so on. And he
Heinrich Himmler, famous or infamous rather, Nazi commander, of course.
operates a very dirty trick. He says that
Dirty trick.
every idiot can be decent and fight for his countries, but true patriotism is that you are ready to do horrible things for your country. And I discovered in how they were making propaganda for collectivization in 1930s, and millions died of hunger in Russia. And I found the same figure.
That's the communist mass starvation of millions of people, and the communist propaganda, along with the Nazi propaganda, obviously equally propagandistic and justifying, using patriotism to justify doing fucking unbelievably horrific things to other people, right?
Yeah. They said you will see horrible things, peasant farmers' families starving and so on, but your decency is the greatest temptation to evil.
There you
We
go.
all have basic common.
That's a very interesting paradox, as usual, right? Decency is the greatest temptation to evil. So we want to, for our country, for our decency, basically destroy these people for our country, and this can be a recipe for evil because you remain sane by rationalizing these excuses for committing atrocities against other people, right? Because probably no one considers themselves to actually be evil, because then why wouldn't you hate yourself if you think that you're evil and you're the bad guy, unless you're some sort of sociopath or something. But yeah, anyway, as usual, Slavoj Zizek making very bombastically expressed but very good opinion, and very accurate in my opinion, that patriotism is an excuse for some of the biggest atrocity, maybe even, well, actually at least a large percentage of the largest, most horrible atrocities in human history, like mass starvations of millions of people of communism, mass genocide of millions of Jews from the Nazis. And there's this ideology within the culture that excuses all of these atrocities, right? So yeah, of course, Slavoj Zizek goes from Nazi sex dreams to how patriotism excuses evil. So yes, Nazi sex dreams are fascinating, but patriotism is almost always an excuse for evil and destroying democracy. Like, obviously a key example right now in the modern world is President Fat Dumbass in the country below my country here in Canada, which is a way better country than America. But yeah, anyway, Slavoj Zizek is awesome, and Nazi sex dreams are darkly fascinating. And yeah, patriotism is almost always an excuse for evil, and it's kind of a dumb concept in my opinion. Adios.